Hey everyone, it's Jeff at Adventure Wagon. Today we're going to be getting into the installation of the Shore Power kit for the Adventure Wagon electrical system in the Sprinter 144. So we're going to go over wiring up and installing the external Shore Power plug, and then installing the breaker box into the Goat Locker frame. If you haven't yet, you're going to want to watch the assembly video for this kit because there are some steps that precede this. So let's get into the tools and supplies that you're going to need for this job. For installing the Shore Power plug into the van, you're going to need some isopropyl alcohol and rags to clean up the surface, a power drill with a 1 7/8 inch hole saw, as well as a smaller drill bit for your pilot hole. This one happens to be an 1/8 inch drill bit. It just needs to be smaller than the drill bit inside the hole saw. This is just a punch to help locate the first pilot hole, a fine file or some other tool to clean up the edge of the hole that you make with the hole saw, a speed square and a Sharpie to locate where the hole is going to go, as well as some painter's tape and some rust preventative once you cut the hole in, and of course eye protection. For wiring up and installing the Shore Power plug, you're going to need a Phillips head screwdriver, a utility knife, some wire snippers and wire strippers, and some channel locks are good for the lock ring on the outlet. And then when we get into installing the Shore Power box in the Goat Locker frame, you'll need a ratchet wrench with a 10mm socket and a 4mm Allen wrench. And the other things that you're going to need for this installation are going to come from your Shore Power kit, which are the Shore Power box itself, the RTV silicone sealant, and the Marine Co. Shore Power plug. So let's get right into the install. We're going to start inside the van, where I'm going to show you how to locate and mark where your first pilot hole is going to be drilled. So we're starting in the back driver's side corner of the van here, and we're going to use this speed square to locate our pilot hole for the Shore Power plug. We're lining it up against the vertical bracer, and the top edge of the speed square is running through the second mounting hole from the bottom. And then we're running about 3 inches out from the edge to mark the inside of the wall where our pilot hole is going to go. It doesn't need to be perfect, but in that general area is good. On the exterior, it's going to put our hole about 8 inches over from our tail light and about 5 inches up from that plastic trim. Once you have your pilot hole located, if you haven't already, take your hole punch and create the little divot to start your pilot hole, and then drill your pilot hole from the inside. Moving to the exterior of the van, we're using the pilot hole that we drilled from the inside to drill the 1 7/8 inch hole for our Shore Power plug. And we're just putting down some painter's tape here to protect the surface of the van before we drill that hole. And we're inserting the center drill bit of the hole saw into our pilot hole and drilling through. If you haven't used a hole saw like this before, it's good to have a pretty good speed going on your drill, and be careful of when it makes contact with the van body. It might jolt the drill bit a little bit. Once the hole is drilled, you can remove the painter's tape. We're just using a deburring tool here to clean up the edge of the cut. A fine file works well for this application too. And then we're applying some rust preventative to the edge of the cut. Now we're getting ready to install the Shore Power plug and connect it to our Shore Power breaker box. So I've grabbed the Shore Power breaker box and the plug out of our kit. A special note here is that what we need to do is make sure that you route it behind this particular structure in the van wall before it attaches to the Shore Power plug coming in from the outside. So just to repeat, when you're getting ready to run the white cable out through the hole to meet up with the Shore Power plug, you're putting it behind this structure, and it's going to end up going through the hole right about there. So we're back to our original shot here, so you're going to actually see me route this cable the wrong way. But what I'm showing here is that you want to make sure we run the rubber gasket that comes with the Shore Power plug over the white cable. You're also going to want to put on the metal lock ring that comes with the Shore Power plug. So your assembly should look something like this at this point. And we're just going to run the cable through our hole, back to the exterior of the van, and we're getting ready to prep our cable to attach to the Shore Power plug. In order to do that, we need to strip away some of the white insulation. So I'm just cutting a slit in the insulation about 2 inches back from the end of the cable, and then we're going to cut away the rest of the insulation to expose those 3 wires. As you're doing this, it's a good idea to make sure that all 3 cables are the exact same length. Just be careful not to nick any of the actual internal wires and take any of the insulation off of those. Now we're getting ready to strip the insulation off the ends of each of the 3 wires before inserting them into the Shore Power plug. We're taking about 3/8 of an inch of insulation off the end of each wire. Installation on the plug itself is pretty straightforward. What I'm doing here is backing out the screws for these clamps to allow enough space for the cables to be inserted before tightening them back down. Insert those wires one at a time At the same time, tightening down each screw until the wire is secured firmly and you've got all 3 wires in place. And once you're finished, give each wire a quick little pull to make sure the connections are tight, and it should look something like this. Once the plug is assembled, we're going to get ready to glue it into place. So I'm going to prep the area with denatured alcohol. There's going to be glue on the back side of the rubber gasket that's attached to the lid, as well as between the rubber gasket and the flange of the plug itself. You can take your RTV silicone out of the kit, and you're just going to run a bead around the back surface of the rubber gasket. That's what's going to touch the van body, as well as in between the gasket and the black flange of the plug itself. And now we're getting ready to insert the shore power plug into the van. You can see I've actually plugged in an extension cable, and it's actually just to help aid in holding the plug in place while we're tightening the lock ring down. Inside the van, Doug is taking the metal lock ring and threading it over the housing of the shore power plug and tightening that down. You don't need to go crazy tightening it down, but you definitely want to make sure it's a nice snug fit. At the same time, I'm on the outside of the van, making sure that the shore power plug stays oriented properly and doesn't rotate as he's tightening that down. Once you're satisfied that the shore power plug is secured tightly and oriented properly, you can clean up the excess glue from around the perimeter with a rag and more isopropyl alcohol. Back to the inside of the van, I'm just laying an extra bead of sealant around the inside edge of the shore power plug just to be absolutely sure that there isn't going to be any water intrusion. And the last step is to take this rubber boot and put it up in place around the housing of the shore power plug. Now that we've finished installing the shore power plug, we're going to jump ahead to the final installation of the breaker box inside the goat locker frame. At this point, the rear lower wall panel will have been put in place, and all the cables that are coming out from the wall will be coming out through this scallop cut in the wall panel. So as you can see, the white cable leading to the shore power box is going to run out of the wall and head back towards the back edge of your goat locker, which is where the shore power box will be mounted. You'll see that there's 4 mounting holes in the end of the goat locker frame, which correspond to the mounting holes on the shore power mounting plate. All you have to do is take the 4 M6 button head bolts and the M6 nylock nuts and run those through those mounting holes and secure the plate. One thing to note is you'll see that I've pulled back the fabric cover from the frame to gain access to those mounting holes. Once you have the shore power box securely fastened, you can reattach the fabric cover and move the frame into place against the wall. For the purposes of this video, we left the lid off of the frame, but don't forget to put that back on before you secure the frame against the wall. You can refer to the goat locker installation instructions for final mounting of that frame. The next thing we have to do is plug in our Victron IP22 shore power charger. On the breaker itself, there's going to be green and red indicators. If it's green, it means that the breaker has been tripped and there's no power running through that box. If it's red, it means that it's live. So at some point before you power up the system, you're going to want to make sure that that breaker is red. And the last thing to do is just tidy up all the cables. There's various mounting points along the inside edge of the goat locker frame, and you can just use some zip ties to tidy up that cabling as you see fit. So that's it for the installation of the shore power package in the Sprinter 144. At this point, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, give us a call, or email us at info@adventurewagon.com, and thanks for watching.